Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been a while since I made a video, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff lately that's kind of bothering me, um, especially things going on with the Ahmaud Arbery and the George Floyd case. I've been seeing a lot of black conservatives, particularly Candace Owens and Officer Tatum, um, making a lot of judgmental videos and ridiculing the victims, and it's kind of bothering me a lot. Um, and we're starting to see a lot of the facts come out in these cases, especially with the Ahmaud Arbery case, since they started the preliminary hearings. And it's kind of interesting that you haven't heard either Candace or Tatum come out and apologize or correct any of the misinformation they gave um, before these preliminary hearings started. Particularly with the Ahmaud Arbery case, we now know that um, one of the perpetrator actually used the N word after he shot Ahmaud Arbery, and it's I watched the video Brandon Tatum, Officer Tatum, did recently where he said none of this is fact, and it's just the preliminary hearings aren't set in stone. But it's interesting that whenever a office or whenever somebody is accused of something who isn't black or who doesn't fit into the narrative of an Ahmaud Arbery or a George Floyd, then Officer Tatum and Candace Owens believes it. But when someone who they said something about in the past, um, and there's facts that come out in court that refute what Tatum and Owens said, then they don't believe it. It's kind of interesting. These are supposed to be the Trump law and order people, and they don't believe the law. The law is saying, or the investigators in Georgia are saying, that witnesses have said that the N word was used when Ahmaud Arbery was shot. Um, the investigators in Georgia also have said that Ahmaud Arbery was hit by the truck, which is interesting because that puts this whole thing in another perspective, and it makes you realize that this guy was running for his life. Um, and a lot of people have tried to make the argument that he wasn't running, he wasn't wearing jogging clothes or workout clothes, but does it really matter what he was wearing? We now have witnesses who say that this guy was a jogger. He liked to jog. He was a former football player, so I guess he liked to work out. But like I said, it's funny that now that these facts are coming out from law enforcement officials, that the people who are supposed to be law enforcement advocates don't believe law enforcement. And it's exactly because um, these facts that are coming out don't fit their narrative. And it's kind of sad because um, Ahmaud Arbery was a human being. He deserves justice. He deserves um, to be, um, his death should not be in vain. The people who took his life should pay for it. So, like I said, I've been looking at a lot of the facts about this case that have come out recently. There was a story in the New York Times. Um, the title was "How Was My Son Ahmaud Arbery's Murder Not a Hate Crime?" And I'm an advocate of hate crime laws, and I believe this was a hate crime, and we know that because um, Travis McMichael used the N word when he shot Ahmaud Arbery. Um, we know Glenn County, Georgia, is not one of the uh, most racially diverse places in the world. Um, in fact, the former, I believe, sheriff was indicted, uh, and I think a lot of police officers in that county were indicted uh, and sentenced to prison and it's not one of the greatest places in terms of being black. But the preliminary hearing, like I said, um, brought out a lot of information that kind of refutes what a lot of these internet black conservatives have been saying. Um, Officer Tatum said a lot about how the McMichaels were just protecting their neighborhood and how Ahmaud Arbery was a burglar or committing some type of crime. Um, but now that the facts are coming out, and we know that Travis McMichael said called Arbery a effing N word after he shot him. That's according to witnesses. That's according to the testimony from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations inspector. So, so here's how I see it. Either you are a law enforcement advocate or you're not. You can't say you support law enforcement or you believe law enforcement when it only fits your narrative. Okay? Because Officer Tatum says he loves police. He's a former officer. He believes everything police say, except when the police say he was wrong about something. And obviously, he was wrong, according to the GBI. Um, so, Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, Travis being the son, Gregory being the father, and William Rhodey Bryan were all charged with having some type of hand in the death of Ahmaud Arbery, which is awesome. And I think what you're going to start seeing now, as this information comes out, you're going to start seeing um, a lot of these black conservatives double down on what they were saying about Ahmaud Arbery, and they're going to start to look like fools because basically they say they support law enforcement, but when law enforcement comes out and says something that refutes their argument, all of a sudden law enforcement doesn't know what they're talking about. You can't have it both ways, in my opinion. Um, so a lot of people would say just because Travis McMichael used the N word after he shot Arbery doesn't make him a racist. Well, it's not the only time he's used the N word, according to the GBI. According to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, he also used it on social media. He once said that he loved working on I believe he worked on a boat, and he said that he loved working on the boat because there were no N words around. There was also another instance where he was replying to someone's post online where he said something about they should have blown the N word's head off. And so that's three instances. You could say one, give him the benefit of the doubt. Two, maybe, but three, come on. There's no telling how much more racist rhetoric this guy has um, dispelled online. Online you have a lot of people who get courage and say things that they wouldn't normally say in person. And what we're starting to see is this stuff is coming back to bite people in the butt. We saw it in we're seeing it in right now with these Black Lives Matter protests. There was a guy in New Jersey just recently who he has this big Trump sign on his truck and American flag, and these protesters are walking by, and there's a guy laying on the ground, and this white guy, has his knee on the back of the guy's neck. Obviously, he's mocking the death of George Floyd, and guess what? This guy got fired today. So what we're starting to see is a lot of these people who Trump has given permission to be overtly racist, they're starting to get in trouble, which is awesome, because there should be a penalty for your stupidity. There should be a penalty for your racism. There should be a penalty for you advocating violence against innocent people, innocent protesters, nonviolent protesters. Okay? So, back to the Ahmaud Arbery case. And we also, Candace Owens also commented on the Ahmaud Arbery case, and she said that um, she didn't believe he was a jogger because he wasn't dressed like a jogger. But like I said, we're starting to see with this investigation and what's coming out in this trial that witnesses, multiple witnesses, say they saw Ahmaud Arbery jogging, and so I'm waiting to hear back from these black conservatives. I want to hear them say they were wrong. I want them to apologize. I want them to go back on their statements. I'm not saying they have to say that Ahmaud Arbery was a perfect person or George Floyd was a perfect person. But when you say something that's wrong and facts come out in the case, you have to correct yourself. You can't double down on something because you're scared you're going to offend your base or you don't want to, lose your views. Um, so that's my 2 cents. I just had to get that off my chest. Hopefully, I'm going to be making a lot more videos in the upcoming future. So if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Peace.